Hi MTV and welcome to my crib. Okay, just kidding. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to embroider. So if you've never done it before and you want to try it, then this video is for you. I'm just going to be walking you through some basics and also how I do my custom embroidered items. So if you follow me on TikTok or Depop, then you know that I do custom embroidered items ranging from tote bags to t-shirts to sweatshirts, you name it, I can do it. I'm actually doing a baby onesie for someone now. So I thought that I would just walk you through the process on how I design each one. I hand design them catered towards each customer to make it exactly what they want, and then I go ahead and embroider it on the item. So embroidering for me is so relaxing. I love to just sit in my bed with some snacks in my giant t-shirt and throw on some Netflix and just embroider all day. Right now I'm watching the show Quantico and it's so good, highly recommend. And yesterday and today it was raining here all day, so I thought that this would be a great time to show you guys how to embroider and walk you through the entire process. So I hope you guys enjoy. Usually when someone contacts me asking about a custom item, they already have a specific design in mind. This girl in particular knew exactly what she wanted. She sent me this really cute canvas painting of a record player and asked me to recreate it on a t-shirt. So I always start out by sketching the design myself, even if they already send me a picture. This helps me prepare for embroidering the design by really knowing what I'll be creating and which colors are best. I sketch out my design in the app called Sketchbook. It's just like Procreate with different layers and all those fancy features, but it's free. And I'm super cheap and didn't want to pay that $10 fee. Other times people don't have a specific picture they want me to recreate, but instead they have like a vague idea of what they want. For example, the second item that I'll be making in this video, the girl said she wanted embroidered yellow and purple flowers. This one was especially fun to make because it gave me a lot of freedom to become creative. So I sketched a design for her and sent it over for her approval. Okay, so the first girl wanted hers on a purple t-shirt. So I got her a purple t-shirt and I'm going to embroider on it. So to embroider, you need the basic stuff, including an embroidery ring, thread or floss, whatever you want to call it, a needle, and then scissors. So I have that all ready and let's get started. I start out by marking the center of the shirt. This t-shirt already had a fold down the center from when it was packaged, so I just added 2 pieces of blue painter's tape along that fold so I could see it better. I usually try to outline the design with a pencil, but it wasn't showing up very well on the purple shirt, so I just decided to wing it, which was a little ballsy of me, but it turned out to be fine. I took out my thread and started with the black outline. When you look at embroidery thread or floss, it usually comes in 6 really thin strands that are wrapped together to create the entire piece of thread. Personally, I usually split that into 2 groups of 3 by pulling it apart, just because I find that usually the entire 6 strands of the thread is a little too thick and can get stuck while I'm embroidering. But again, that's just my personal preference. So after I thread my needle, I get started with a simple back stitch. A back stitch is exactly what it sounds like. So you pull your thread and needle up through the fabric from the back and then push it back through about 1 inch forward. This creates the first stitch. Then come back up through the fabric about 1 inch forward and send the needle and thread back through the previous hole. By using the already created holes, it creates a continuous and uninterrupted line. So for this entire design, I'm basically just using a back stitch. So when I'm outlining this, I'm simply making a lot of little stitches and lines. When you are done using that thread, whether you are finished with that color or it's running out, send the needle and thread through the fabric so that it's on the back of the garment. Pull the needle through one of the stitches along the back of the fabric, but don't pull all the thread through. Leave a little loop of the thread and pull your needle through that, and then pull it all tightly. This creates a knot, and then you are free to cut the thread and not worry about it unraveling. The outline of this design alone took me a decent amount of time, but I put on some Netflix and my cat and I just sat right there on my bed for hours. Finally, when I was done with the outline, I switched to a gold colored thread and started coloring it all in. To do this, I used a backstitch again, surprise, surprise. But it's basically like coloring in a picture, so just create a shit ton of stitches right next to each other to fill in the entire thing. This also took me a long time. After the yellow was done, I switched to white and filled in the little details. And then finally, back to black thread. And this was the finished product. It came out super cute and pretty similar to the canvas painting she sent me, so I was pleased with my work. After all that hard work, I had to reward myself with some food. So here's a little what I eat in the middle of embroidery segment of the video. I had guacamole and chips and a tortilla pizza with cheese, tomatoes, and broccoli. Oh, and of course, some ice cream. Now on to item 2, and trust me, this one has a little bit more tutorial-worthy techniques besides back stitching, so stay tuned. I started out by marking the center of the sweatshirt again, and since this one was white, I went ahead and outlined the design with a pencil. I started with green thread and used a back stitch to make the flower's stem and leaves. I used brown to make the center of the flower and yellow for the petals. To make the petal shape, you create a little loop with your thread. So pull your threaded needle through the fabric right next to the flower center and push it back through a new hole right next to that first one. But do not pull all the thread through the fabric. Catch a little bit of it. However much thread you catch is how big the petal will be. Hold that thread in place and sew a tiny stitch around it to lock it in place. This holds a loop there and creates the petal shape. Repeat this over the center of the flower. I then repeated these steps to make an orange flower. Now onto flower number 2 out of 5. I used a different shade of green to make the stem, and I used that same loop and catch technique from the last flower to sew the leaves of this flower. I try to make each flower of this design, stem and leaves included, to be different, so that is why I'm using different techniques for different parts of the design. To make these flowers, I use a simple backstitch and color method like we did from the first shirt. The upside of this method is that it makes the flowers solid colored and all purple, but it does take the most amount of time. Okay, flower number 3. Again, different colored green for the stem, and I used a loop and catch method for the leaves. This flower turned out to be my favorite. So for this one, we are using a new technique. Pull your thread and needle through the fabric and hold the thread with your other hand. Wrap the needle around the thread 2 times and then send the needle and thread back through the fabric right next to that original hole. This creates a 3D knot on top of the fabric. I repeated this probably a good 100 times to make this flower, but it turned out so cute and it pokes out a little bit and adds some dimension to the design. Flower number 4, almost there. Okay, by now you know the drill, green for the stem and leaves. I used dark purple to make these petals and just did a back stitch and colored them in. Pretty simple. Okay, final flower, number 5. Different shade of green for the stem and leaves. By this point, I was shocked that I even had these many different colored greens. And then I used yellow for the petals. I used the loop and catch method to make these petals and created a total of 3 flowers for this one stem. And this was the final outcome of the entire sweatshirt. It turned out so cute, like I wanted to keep it for myself. And now we're done. Thanks so much for watching, guys. All I have to do now is ship them out, so I'll put it in a package along with a handwritten note and then ship them out and just wait to hear the feedback from my customers. I hope that they really like them. I hope this tutorial inspires you to do some DIYs, maybe start embroidering as well. As I already said, I love doing it and I find it so relaxing, and it's just fun to be able to get a little creative and share that with other people. So I hope that this inspires you to do some DIYs on your own. And if you do like my designs, you can follow me on all social medias. I'll have them linked down below, and feel free to ask me any questions. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.